Good evening, everyone. Hey, welcome to night three.
Night three.
Of the Black Man Made Well. And I am Martinez Sellers, your mental health hygienist, coming to you live and in living color from Southern California. Y'all know what I always say, where the sun is always shining. And my co-host with me tonight.
Let's do it. I would be John Henry Scott III, and I'm so fortunate to run a company called Chart to Heart Incorporated. And it's been a blessing to be with everybody all week, Marty.
It has. This is night three. Can you believe it?
I can believe it.
You can believe it.
I felt it.
You felt it last night? Are you still recovering from the yoga?
I'm recovering from the little bit of yoga we did, but it's going to be an incredible night.
Yes.
So everybody that's joining, welcome to night three. Whether it's your first night, your second night, or whether you've been riding with us all 3 nights, we are here. Tonight's going to be incredible. It's going to be awesome. We got a full panel. Marty, tell them about it.
Listen, the panel tonight is off the chain. Listen, you don't want to miss these brothers coming, telling us and sharing with us their stories and the importance of mental health and self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care. Yeah, I got my self-care stuff with me too. I got my stress ball because ninjas will stress you out. and I got my Zen bowl. Now, don't y'all go say, Marty didn't turn Buddhist. No, I ain't no Buddhist. But listen, every now and again, I need to zen out because we ain't having this. But yes. For yourself, John Henry, how have you been enjoying this week? Because it's been incredible.
I'm telling you, it has been transformative.
Yes.
More than anything, it's reiterated the importance of brotherhood and connection.
Yes.
It's fascinating. Although you and I have been on the screen,
right?
It has almost created this community over the last couple of days.
Yes.
All of the brothers. I mean, we have had, if compiled together, hundreds of brothers come together to really kind of create this community of Black men that's on this journey to be made even more well, regardless of where we fall.
Yes.
It's been great.
I think so too. Listen, let us know you're listening, where you're listening from. We see Kenneth Shepard out there. Hey, Kenny. And we got that yoga dude from last night.
Dropping it on.
Yes. Chucky, what's up, Chuck? What's up, man? Thank you, man, for coming out. We appreciate it. Listen, there's still time to share this video. Let's get as many people on here because we know it. Listen, Godfrey's on here.
That's my guy.
Yes, that's your guy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, there's still plenty of time because we got some people out there. Yes, Jerome, what's going on? Yes, that's right. Let us know. Kansas City in the house. That's right. Fontana, yes, that's my neck of the woods. Eastvale, that's right. Come on. Other folk out there. We are so glad you are joining us, guys. Listen, we've been having a ball. Yeah. If you missed Monday night, there's still time because we are on YouTube and we're on the Black Man Made Well YouTube channel. You can go back and look at Monday. If you have not seen Monday night set the tone for everything.
Absolutely. We talked about the stigmas. It's there. It's over 200 viewers already. Go check that out. Last night, we talked about yelling to yoga.
Yes.
It was incredible.
Yes,
we
it
had
was.
some of the greats in the house.
Yes.
We talked about what that looks like and how that is the dirty work. And
that's right. The dirty work.
It can help us really to kind of get in touch with ourselves.
That's right.
I thought it was cool. Tonight we go have the conversation that we go have in just a minute. But Marty, tell them about tomorrow.
Let's start with tomorrow during the day. I want to let you. Thursday night is your night. But we're so excited about what we're going to be doing. We are and we wish. Now listen, this is just a pilot group we're testing this out with, but we're coming back in June for the Young Man Made Well conference. The Young Man Made Well. And this is going to be for the ages 12, and we're going to include that transitional age population up to 24. But talk to us about tomorrow with this Young Man Made Well.
Let me tell you, tomorrow's going to be a game changer. So we're taking everything that we're doing this week, and we're going to condense it down into a 2-hour in-person live session for this younger generation.
Yes.
I mean, we're going to go in there, we're going to serve give them, we're going to tell our stories, going to hear their stories, and we're going to give them some of the exact same tools that we're providing to all of the Black men. And those who love us and care about us, and those who just watch and want to be like us. We're going to share some of those tools with a young man in person tomorrow during the daytime. And then tomorrow night, what's going on?
Tomorrow night, we are so excited. We're going to be dealing with family and fatherhood. We got a panel that is just top notch on there. Talk to us about that panel for tomorrow night.
That panel is going to be absolutely incredible. We have Jerron Clark. We have Thomas Shipp. We have Alfred Elliman. We have Dr. Ed Rice, all coming together, who are fathers. We believe that they're some of the greatest fathers in the land right now. And the goal is to really kind of share some principles, some tools aligned with our focus areas and our objective to empower, equip, and educate the Black men in focus areas. And we go celebrate fatherhood tomorrow night,
because we want to destroy the myth of the deadbeat dad.
That's right.
And definitely show that there are Black men who are engaged with their children, who value fatherhood, who want to help put a new face on this thing called family and fatherhood.
Come on. And listen, if you don't share no broadcast, share tomorrow's broadcast.
That's right.
For sure.
And too often, now me being a single father, raising a 6-year-old, y'all pray my strength in the Lord in these last and evil COVID days. But it's so important that we understand that, because part of my goal, I realize that me being an anomaly, being a single man raising a 6-year-old girl, and how that looks, and what we want to change, that I'm vested in her future. And I have this amazing support system with that, and that we want to make sure that people know that Black men love their children, whether they're biological, whether they're a bonus child, whether they are adopted, because too often also we don't believe that Black fathers can adopt children as well. And we won't even talk about the LGBTQIA community, because there's some excellent fathers in that community as well. So we're talking about the broad definition of fatherhood.
Absolutely, man. It takes a village.
It does. I'm
excited that we gonna have a village conversation.
That's right.
About fatherhood.
Friday night, though. Talk to us about Friday night.
Friday night's going to be fantastic. It's going to be we're going to be in my space.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Friday night, we'll be talking about finance and business. So I'll be on the panel facilitating and leading. We're going to have Justin Jerry there.
Yes.
We're going to create this environment by which this is the only live in-person event that we'll actually have. And so if you have not registered, we're going to make sure that the information is in the chat or in the comment section for you to go register, because it's a different registration, correct, Marty? Than the one you did for everything else.
It's still the same in that regards, but what we're trying to do, we're going to be we don't want to be a super spreader, even though we got the Super Bowl coming. We're not going to be a super spreader before the Super Bowl, but we got a Super Bowl event that's happening called the Black Man Made Well.
That's right.
And that supersedes any Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
I'm on the Super right now.
There we go. So even though it's going to be live in person, we're still going to be streaming here.
That's right.
We will still be streaming here. So if in fact you cannot make it live in person, you just for whatever reason, whether you're in another state, another city, we will be streaming here Friday at 7 p.m. We're going to broadcast it live. We're going to be talking about the principles and the strategies and what to do with your business plan, regardless of where you stand, whether you're in corporate America, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a mom and pop shop. I'm going to be bringing global experience. I've had an opportunity to do work for very formidable companies on 6 of the 7 continents. And so the gift of being able to bring that into empower our community in very practical steps and strategies, I believe is going to be able to kind of turn this all into multi-millionaires.
Come on. I like that. I got my bank account already right. I opened a new bank account just for my millions. But that's so important, because oftentimes we as Black men have a harder push when it comes to entrepreneurship and business. And oftentimes, you know, in my even seeking you, I knew I needed to have a business coach that looked like me, that understood my principles, that understood my values, understood my heart and mission. So finding someone like you is absolutely amazing. And we share our stories all the time, how this has just been a different type of brotherhood experience in that grade. So I think we get to share more of that on Friday as well.
I'm excited about that. I can keep going on and on, but you got to wait till Friday.
We got to wait till Friday. Wait till Friday. And then also part 2 of Friday Night Live is going to be talking about system-involved Black men, because we don't want to negate those men who have been system-involved, whether it's right. And we know that there's so many that are system involved, that there's a lot of injustice that is there as well.
Broken by
That's
system.
right. That's right.
Absolutely.
And so we want to help brothers be able to navigate through these systems that are placed upon us and oftentimes forced upon us as well. So we got some police offers coming out. We have child support coming out.
Absolutely.
Because child support does not have to be a fearful thing. And to really also educate that child support and family law are 2 separate laws and 2 separate court systems anyway, and that how not to allow one to manipulate or dictate the other.
That's so good.
Yes,
so good.
yes.
So good.
But you know, I love, can you hit our 3 tenets and why this came about for those who might be joining us for the first time. Keep the comments coming in. We want to know where you're watching from. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It was absolutely imperative that we were able, in this month being Black Mental Health Week, through the Riverside County, that they're one of our sponsors, and we'll talk about them in just a moment, but we were tapped to really curate this space by which we can invest in Black men.
Yes.
So when we sit down and start putting our strategy together, we knew that it was very important for us to be able to do 3 things. Number 1 was empower Black men. Number 2 was educate Black men, because we don't know what we don't know. And sometimes we're destroyed simply because of what we don't know, right? The lack of knowledge. And then number 3, equip. Because when we have the tools, then we can build. And I think that sometimes what happens, we are frustrated because we are trying to build without the appropriate tools. And so that's what we're trying to do across several focus areas. And we've been talking about that all week.
Yes. I got to give a shout out to my pastor, James Turner. And we did this wonderful conversation last Wednesday, a week ago, about Black men, ministry, and also their mental health, and the lack of Black men in the church, and how to reach those broken men, because too often men don't even find and cannot find safety in the church in those regards too, because again, like many social organizations and political organizations, even in my field, being a Black male therapist, I represent 1% of the entire field. And you look at that too in many churches that are women run in those regards, or women dominated. Black men struggle with finding safety even in spiritual places as well.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is.
But what about tonight, though? What about tonight, Marty?
Tonight, let me get out. What are the tools? Danielle, don't you come in here messing us up already. Listen, we're going to get to the tools. We're going to talk about the tools. There's always one in the crowd.
Hey, Danielle's the man.
Danielle is the man.
He killed it on Monday.
He did.
Check it out. Go check it out.
Yes, I'm sorry. Dr. Hill.
Pardon me.
Dr. Hill, yes. Yeah. Listen. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors, though. Change Pastor. Good to see you from Change Church. Yes, definitely. We want to give a shout out to Riverside University Health Systems and Behavioral Health, specifically the African American Family Wellness Advisory Group, for their donations and support to what we're doing, because we could not do that without their major sponsorship. I got to give a shout out to my own organization, Marcel Consulting and Mental Health Services, for their financial contributions, as well as the African American Health Coalition that have been definitely.
If I give y'all $5, can Charter Heart be a sponsor?
Can we put some more zeros behind that $5?
That's so good.
Right.
But let's go.
Let's go. Darren, we're having a little technical difficulty if you can come out here. But I'm so excited that we are this group of panelists that are with us tonight.
Yeah.
They are so fabulous in regards to their expertise, their passion, and everything for the community. So we are so excited about having them on here as night. Curly, so good to see you out there. Yes, we are changing lives. Thank you, Curly. Yeah. I want to bring on our first guest. Yeah. He is doing amazing work in Los Angeles. I met this brother. Well, we met via virtual these days. Everyone's meeting virtually. But I love the work he's doing in the community. And when I reached out to him, he was like, Marty, let me know however I can be a part of this. And he's doing great work. I admire the work he's doing, how he's helping so many in parenting classes. He's got scholarships later on that's helping for Black men who want therapy. And that is so key with that. And he's making a huge difference in our Black LGBTQIA community with that. So I'm so excited to bring on to this platform. But you definitely, he's someone we all need to know. And he brings such a wealth of knowledge. And I can't wait to do some more collaboration with him. But I want to bring with us to this platform none other than Mr. Yolo Robinson himself of Beam Organization. So yes, Mr. Yolo, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Hi, how y'all doing?
We doing really well, man. Definitely. Yolo, share with us your work that you do and share with us Beam, what this amazing organization Beam is doing. And yes, we'll start there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me first start by just saying thank you for holding this space, for making this platform, for having these conversations. Just so much love and appreciation to you both for the work that you're doing, holding this. So let's start there. To everyone who's watching tonight, my name is Yolo Akili Robinson. So I'm the founder and executive director of Beam. Beam stands for the Black Emotional and Mental Health Collective. And Beam is a national training, movement building, and grant making institution that's dedicated to the healing, wellness, and liberation of Black communities. We have 3 different buckets how we do our work, right? We primarily are a training institution. So our work is built on the premise that we just can't solely rely on social workers and therapists for our communities to heal. We need social workers and therapists for our communities to heal.
Right.
But we also have to build up the capacity of everybody in the community, everybody in the village needs to know how to respond to mental health crises, needs to know how to cultivate everyday mental health wellness, and when to refer someone and how to get someone into broader psychological intervention, right? So that's what our training and our work really focuses on. Barbers, activists, teachers, parents, students, peers, recognizing that when we have villages of folks who have information, they can work in tandem with other therapists and other wellness professionals better, and it can actually help our communities overall collectively get wellness. So that's a big part of our work, is really training and education. We also do grant making. We have a Black Parent Support Fund. We give funds to Black parents who are living with mental conditions and who are supporting children living with mental conditions. And we also have a couple other things we do as well around like supporting resources. So so I'm grateful to be here. That's a little bit about our work. I'll talk more about it, of course.
Wait a minute. Did you hear? He gave us a whole laundry list of things they did. He said, and just a couple of other things that we just kind of do around here and everything. We don't do it. We don't do 1,000 things, but we do good 999.
That's strong.
But isn't that strong? Isn't that strong? What I love that a lot of times organizations don't do, and just real quickly, tell us more about, you said grant making, that portion, because a lot of times we don't know how to bring money, sustainable grants, sustainable revenue, because if you don't have it takes money to get the work done.
Come on.
We passed the we shall overcome and working for free. We got to have some money in order to make, if we're going to want change to happen, change takes finances to back change up. Talk to us about that leg a little bit of your organization.
Yeah, one thing that was really important for us with our grant making, and I'll talk about the 3 different grant buckets we have, is that we recognize that it's going to take everyone across the country to make this happen.
Yes.
And we recognize that in many Black communities, like I'm from the South, I'm a Georgia person, like I'm from deep Georgia, right? And particularly in the South and many parts of the country, the people who are holding down mental health, sometimes they're that therapist that's in the church, that not even employed by the church, but holding groups, right? Sometimes it's that trusted cousin, it's that trusted friend who's like taking care of folks. And so we try to figure out, how do we get money to those folks to help them expand, build, get new skills to support communities? So for example, we have our Southern Healing Support Fund. Southern Healing Support Fund funds explicitly Black folks in the rural South who are doing innovative and strategic wellness projects, right? We funded Lorenzo Lewis, who does barbershop education, like in Little Rock, Arkansas, and across the country, right? We funded doulas who are working with Black women and people who have children to really support them through the birth process, right? We've also funded like community herbal clinics. We think herbal medicine from certified herbal folks is really helpful for people. So we recognize that that's all kinds of wellness that we've kind of funded, with understanding that people need money to make the work happen, right? Then we have other funds. Like I said, the Black Parent Support Fund is really important.
Right.
I tell people all the time, the economic anxiety is real, right? When you don't know if your lights are getting paid, your lights are going to be on. If you can't pay your car, that contributes to your mental health symptoms, your state of mind, right? And so getting to our folks is critical. And then we have our Black Wellness Innovation Fund, which we just launched. It's exactly what it sounds like. We got a lot of exciting projects coming up. We just recently did a big project where we gave out awards to Black trans women who are a part of our community who don't get very much funding around mental health. We're going to be doing some other exciting things where we're going to be trying to incentivize therapists like yourselves to really do more group sessions. While we love individual sessions, we recognize in the United States there are about 25,000 licensed professional counselors who are Black, around that number, and about 42 million Black people. So we got to do some group work. I mean, individual needed for some folks, we know that, but we got to do some more group work, right? We got to do some more village work. So that's a big part of the work we're trying to get folks to move towards.
I told y'all YOLO is the real deal.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that oftentimes there's a massive gap between the awareness and also resource availability.
Yes, exactly.
And that's just across the board. And in the space that's so important in terms of mental wellness, being able to create that economic access is really what it is through something that's founded by somebody that look like us, that understands our plight. That's a big deal. So major props to you, man. Major props.
YOLO, again, I'm trying to grow up and be like you, dog. You doing it. Listen, you giving out money. I'm just trying to take it.
Let's keep talking. Who else we got?
We got from Nashville. I messed up.
Chicken himself.
Yes. This brother, listen, I was on he called me to be on his podcast. And this brother gave a soliloquy like we was doing some sort of Shakespeare, and then came on, "What up, Marty?" I'm like, you know what? I ain't even doing it with you. But this is my brother. He's just down hard. I ain't gonna put him on blast. He was eating some chicken wings before he got on. But this is among the none other than my brother James Bush. James, what's going on now?
What's good, Marty? What's good, man? I'm grateful to be on your show in this opportunity, and also that I made the cut. And Marty and Daryl.
right, man. How you living out there in Tennessee? Y'all doing all? Y'all buried in snow?
No, not particularly. That was about 2 weeks ago. Right now, it was at 61 today, and that kind of
y'all got a summer.
Yeah. So that was kind of shocking, but I'll take it. I will take it.
Yes. James, share with us what you do and your passion for helping specifically Black men.
Well, I wear a bunch of different hats. I'm a program director for a substance abuse facility, especially specializing with adolescents who suffer from substance abuse.
Wow.
13 to 18 years old. I'm also a private practitioner, CEO of Bush Counseling Services, where many of my clients are African-American males, adolescents, as well as adults. And I run the Mind of a Man podcast, where we work with just different people in all types of industries to help educate our brothers, as well as our sisters as well, too, on things beyond just cars, drugs, sex, and money and everything. What about legacy, child, child support, the legal system, family law. Also, when it comes to financial saving plans, insurance, all those different items and so like that, we're having the conversations that need to be had so that the generation now can be empowered to do better and go farther than we did.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
So good.
Man, we love it. We love what you're doing. Keep doing it.
So good.
And then this is James' new cousin he just met from down in the dirty South, down in Florida. This brother does some amazing work because we all know that for most of us in the Black community, especially we as men, our barbers were our first therapists. If it wasn't our pastor, it was our barbers. And so he's doing amazing work with, he's calling this kind of mental health awareness certification program that he's doing in the barber shops across down there right outside of Orlando. But we want to bring in James's cousin, his brother from another mother, none other than Pernell Bush.
Man, what's going on? What's happening? How y'all
doing? How you doing?
Man, I'm real good, man. I'm just excited to be here with you all, man. It's going to be a great conversation. Listen, me and James been knowing each other for a minute. We found each other on social media. We were just like cuz.
Yeah.
You don't find too many bushes around here, man.
That's right.
Mental health therapists, man. We've been connected for a while now.
Right.
So, but for those who don't know me, my name's Pernell Bush. I'm a licensed clinical social worker based here in the state of Florida. I'm just very excited, to be a part of this conversation. Outside of that, I am the president and CEO of No Limit Health and Education, and we are a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and our whole mission is to promote mental health wellness through services, program, advocacy, and outreach. So we have programs such as the Barbershop Mental Health Advocacy, and I got to give a major shout out to Lorenzo Lewis. When I talked to Lorenzo about 3-4 years ago, we once again, social media connected a lot of us.
That's right. That's
from
right.
there, man, I'll say, hey, bro, we trying to do this in Florida too. He's like, hey, run with it. So you got to understand that a lot of us, we're doing the same work out here, just trying to, fill that gap. And, as you just heard the numbers, it was 25,000 mental health professionals and over, millions of individuals that need services. So especially for our community, we have to figure out how can we continue to serve. And I love what Yolo and his organization is doing by finding those individuals to fill that. So, man, let's just get this conversation kicked off and really talk about the hill.
Let's do it.
Fire panel, ain't it?
Yeah. This is just going to be absolutely incredible, and I want to kick it off. Right, we've kind of set the tone tonight and really kind of marked this. We're really talking about self-care and what that looks like. So let's lead in with that, and let's just let the conversation just happen with bruh in.
Yeah, I got you.
I totally just made that up, but it's all good anyway. And so let's go to you, Yolo. Let's kick it off with you. When we start thinking about the work that you do, and also just the experience as a Black man, and we think about the banner.
Hold on one second. Got to cut you off. We got Stephen, his internet kicked back in, so we got to.
Stephen back.
He's back, so we glad.
Well, let's break Stephen out. Let's do it.
This is the therapist to the stars. I'm trying to grow up and be like this brother too. I'm trying to be like all these brothers in here. But we're so glad to have him on here. He brings a wealth of knowledge as well, doing his thing in the Inglewood area. In Inglewood. So we're so glad to have him on here. None other than the band himself, Mr. Stephen Lewis.
What's going on, brothers? What's going on?
How you feeling, man?
There you go.
Yes.
Right.
I know you were having some challenges, so man, so good to see you and everything. How's your day going?
It was going fantastic until my internet went out about 30 minutes before we were supposed to hop on here. So, man,
Yes. Listen, give us an introduction of what you do, your passion, and this whole thing of therapy for yourself. Because I know who you are, because I've been watching you, on television and everything. I'm like, I need that brother's check. Go ahead, man.
Oh man. So I'm Stephen Lewis. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. My mother got fancy with the name, so most people will say Stefan or Stephen. It is Stephen. We black moms, we got to come correct with it.
Right.
As a licensed psychotherapist, I specialize in working with individuals struggling with imposter syndrome. So as Marty was saying, like you've seen me, I've been on the kind of first season of unscripted television on Oprah Winfrey Network for Love Goals. Most people have probably seen me chopping it up with Kev on stage and his wife Melissa. She calls me the edge snatcher because of the way I deliver my messages about imposter syndrome and challenging people's thoughts. So yeah, that's kind of where I live. I really work and focus on individuals that are doing amazing stuff in life, and for whatever reason, they have a really difficult time connecting to their success.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Stephen, welcome, man. We're so glad to have you.
Man.
And glad that you got that internet situation worked out for you. So that's how it always works. Okay, go back. I'm so sorry to cut you off.
No,
I could not leave
that was a perfect segue, but I want to go right back to YOLO.
Yes.
Thinking about the context of the work you do, and this is really going to be just a toss around to all the brothers that's on the panel.
Yes.
The work that you do and your experience individually as a Black man, and also just those people that we're connected to as well. When we think about self-care, what does that look like and why does it matter? Right? Let's go with you, YOLO, kicking it off.
Sure. So I'll start off that, one of the things I think that happens to people who are socialized as men or raised as men in this country, right, is that we are often taught really early on to disconnect from our bodies and our emotions, right? And that becomes a real barrier for us to be able to even practice self-care, be like, because we're taught that to connect with what we're feeling, to connect with what our bodies are telling us when it's not about sex, when it's not about power, there's something is wrong with that or undesirable about that, right? And so I think of so much of the work that has to be done to get to the point where we can take care of ourselves and allow other people to take care of and help us is really unlearning those scripts and narratives that say because you are, a man or you are this whatever gender, that you can't connect to this part of yourself, that you can't be aware of your feelings or your emotions, and that makes you less than. That toxic narrative feeds right into racism, right? It feeds into racism because it feeds into early death for us, early harm for us, because we're not connected to ourselves. And so I think a big part of my journey has been challenging those narratives and finding people in my community who will help me as well challenge those narratives so I can be honest about the range of feelings I'm experiencing. So I can be honest about my health, whether it's if it's hypertension or if it's like high blood pressure, whatever that is, because I can't do that if I'm in denial, if I'm dismissing. And I don't know about other people in the room, but like I know for me, I have a lot of amazing, Black men, uncles, my dad in my life, but many of them, they didn't receive or grew up in a world where it was okay for them to do that. And so they modeled that.
Right.
And it's not because they were bad people. It was because nobody showed them how to do that.
Exactly.
They will model that. And so some of that unlearning takes so much time to go against the grain and show something new for yourself, but also for other folks so that we can do self-care. And I will say this piece, the last piece I'll say, to get to self-care is critical. And it's also so important that we also recognize it needs to be interconnected with allowing ourselves to be vulnerable to receive community care, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable enough to let somebody take care of us and support us and grow with us, nurture us, because we need that too. And that is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength and a sign of dignity and tenacity to allow that into our space. So I think those are some of the things I just think about with the conversation.
Yeah, that's strong.
Isn't that strong? You talk about how vulnerability is a sign of dignity. Yeah. And y'all brothers wasn't even with. We did from yelling to yoga last night. So we did the whole session. John and I were on the yoga mat the whole time, and Stephen, you should have saw us down there. Stephen, you should have saw us. Now I ain't stretching nothing to my, try to do these things. I'm like, wait a minute, this is hard. But YOLO just talked about the same principles we talked about last night. How vulnerability leads once we become vulnerable, it leads to we start to discover our value in ourselves. But a lot of us have not discovered our value because whether it's society, our families, our culture has told us that we cannot be vulnerable. And we can't. Here's the sad thing: we learned we can't even be vulnerable with each other.
It's fascinating because I listened to you, YOLO, and it made me think of a question. I'm actually going to go down to Florida and look at the Pink Panther and ask the question. Ask the question. I said, bruh's gonna be bruhin'. Bruh's bruhin' tonight, man. It's all love. It's all love, Pernell.
Hey, man, you know how it is when they hear, hey, I'm keeping it real P with my pink. That's real P.
That's right. But look, this question came to mind when I start thinking about listening to you, YOLO. Right. Start talking about, is there another definition of strength?
That's good.
Is there another definition of strength? Because the culture, creates this definition, and obviously there's some in the dictionary. But is there another definition of strength? Is strength discovered individually? I'm not sure, but let's throw that question out to my big cuz, Mr. Bush himself.
Hey, yeah. So, man, listen. Is there another definition of strength? I think at the end of the day, we understand that we all display our strength in different ways, right? We have been taught from a very, just on a personal note, I don't say the term toxic masculinity. I say rigid masculinity. We've been taught from a very rigid view of masculinity that strength is what we show from a physical standpoint. But however, my strength, your strength, this and other individual strength may be displayed and shown differently. Right. So we have to start being okay to embrace our unique selves.
Come on.
What it is that I'm strong, no matter if it may not look like the rigid ways that society has told me. Once upon a time, I thought because I can put 400 pounds on a bench.
Right.
I thought that was true strength, but that really isn't. Right. It's a form of strength, but it isn't the ultimate form. And I have met individuals, man. I have for example, I had a young man come into my office, 23 years old young man, just really he's just getting into adulthood, right? But that's in the mental health world, stage of development. He's still his late adolescent stage. And from his vantage point, from what he's been told, from the rigid views from his family, from the rigid view of society, he think like, man, I'm weak, Mr. Bush. This young man is a 4.2 GPA, have the intellect of those who are probably like Elon Musk.
Right.
You don't see your strength. He has the capacity to feel and care for others that was not ever displayed within his family. I say that is strength within itself.
Wow.
So for itself, we all have to understand we go through our own journey and we're going to find what our strength is. Our strength does not supposed to look alike at all.
That's good, man.
That's good. Because where you're strong, I might be weak at, and where you're weak, I could be strong at. So together, we're now redefining this whole thing of strength. I'm with you, Jerron. Rigid masculinity. Come on, that.
Well, it really ties back to one of the things that YOLO pointed out. Right? YOLO is when he talked about self-care leads to this community care.
Yes,
and so that's aligned, really, Marty, with what it is that you were just sharing. Let's go to Nashville Hot Chicken, and
you on a roll tonight.
I had a nap, man.
He had a nap before the show, so he all rested up, and his brain is firing like crazy.
But so James, down in Nashville, looking at the work that you do, looking at the conversations that you've had, when you connect the dots between self-care and then also strength being individualized based upon an individual experience, and also just where their journey has led them and where their journey will lead them.
Right.
What are your thoughts in that regard based upon your purview?
Well, one of the things that I've noticed is that I work a lot with the criminal justice system. And so one of my big statements is a lot of people, they measure strength in what someone did do. I measure strength in what someone didn't do. I think that's so important because a lot of times we have many of our brothers and sisters as well. They are incarcerated for promises that they did keep or possible accidents. Self-care is so important. Why? Because it's the ability to emotionally regulate yourself when you're in those moments. We have all types of sensors on the nice cars that we drive that tells us when the check engine light is on, when the gas light is on, and they help us let us know and identify what is wrong with the car at that point in time. But a lot of us have not been taught about how to identify those things that are going on within us. And we don't understand how to remedy those things as well because, again, like I said, the model hasn't been presented to us. And so my thing is when we're talking about self-care, we're talking about being able to regulate yourself at any given moment so that you can function the best for yourself as well as your community.
That's good.
Wow.
So good.
That is, I love that. And Dr. Webster says that this talks about how the psychological theory of how to get our strength, wellness, and selfhood from being able to meaningfully integrate our relationships, such as space and vulnerability, into our self-concept, and making sure we do that. So Dr. Webster was on there. Thank you, Dr. Webster, from Monday night with the stigmas.
Yeah. So let's go.
Mr. Lewis.
I was trying to think of something clever to say, but it didn't come fast enough, right? It didn't come fast enough. Let's go to Stephen Lewis, right? Stephen, let's join Stevan. What does Mama call him?
Stevan.
Stevan. Stevan.
I'm gonna tell you what my mom calls me. That's her name for me. You know what I mean?
Right. Hey, Stevan, there's something that James just mentioned when he talked about how we identify ourselves. And in the work that you do, especially as a lot of the work around imposter syndrome, what have you seen in the connection to the inability to effectively care for oneself because we don't really have a real understanding of who we are?
That's good.
Right. So that's a really good point to make, is that I think what my experience has been is that for the individuals I work with, I guess strength or self-care is often seen as what you can do or provide for someone else. And that might be a thing that's true for men in general, but especially Black men, of being a provider. And so oftentimes the individuals I'm working with are rooted in their success or their accomplishments or their self-worth being attached to what they've done or what they do. And a lot of the fellows have already mentioned that. I think the other kind of important distinction is that they often forget about themselves in that piece, right? So they aren't really including themselves in terms of the people that need to be taken care of, the people that need to be attended to, or that need to be provided for. They don't know how to really do that. And I think Yolo kind of talked about that or spoke upon that when he was discussing, his piece, is that how do we do something we've not had modeled for us? How do we take care of ourselves if we've not been told that we are important to take care of? And I think that's kind of what I see oftentimes in my work, is that, people get so caught up in accomplishing things or doing, and they're doing amazing stuff. And they've also, in that same vein, neglected themselves and their own needs, and are kind of getting burned out or don't feel like they're doing enough. And kind of work towards, I guess, realigning or reframing, hey, you are a part of the team that needs to be taken care of. That if you aren't taking care of yourself, you can't go and do for others. And I use that analogy of the airplane and putting on your mask first. You've got to get your mask situated in order to be able to take care of everybody.
Yes.
That's so good.
Isn't that good? That's good. Stephen, can I, before we, I want to, for those who may not understand what the imposter syndrome is, can you share with us what that is? Because I know a lot of people hear it, but maybe don't have a full understanding of the amazing work. Now that's out of my pay grade, above my pay grade, doing that. I just do little things like anxiety and depression, but you're going into a whole nother world, because you got to swim in it. You got to swim in the deep end. Start going on that. So talk to us about imposter syndrome.
Sure. So the kind of technical term is imposter phenomenon. It's a term coined by Dr. Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes when they were at the University of Georgia, and they were working with women kind of across the campus that were accomplishing a lot of great things. And what they found is that even though they were getting high marks in school or were getting lots of accolades, that they often felt as though they were a fraud, that they didn't really have the skills and abilities to really maintain the success that they had attained. And so they walked around with fear. Some of it developed into anxiety, some of it may have developed into depression. And so, we kind of know it, I guess, locally or colloquially as imposter syndrome, but it's the idea that I am unable to connect to the really good things that I am doing in life. So I say it as the inability to connect to one's success. So people are out there crushing it. We say you're killing it. We're like, man, that was fire. And they are living in fear that they don't really have the abilities or the skills or tools to kind of maintain what other people will expect of them based on what they've already done.
And I guess that leads to, how many of we men have felt that because we maybe have not had the validations, or our best was not good enough, in that not saying, hey, baby, you know. And I'm going to throw that even out to Yolo in his community work. How many people have you seen who are doing great work or even have the potential to, but not have the support, the acknowledgement, or anything like that? So that creates doubt, and we start beating ourselves up with the community work that you're doing out there, Yolo. And can you identify or relate to some of your clients that you've seen who may have had some imposter syndrome or imposter-like syndrome symptomologies?
Absolutely. And I think we live in a culture that is hypercritical and hyper focused on productivity as a definition and metric of your worth, right? And we also live in a culture that has taught us, often in ways that are not accurate, that there is one way to be, one way to get to something, and one way to do something. And those narratives that run through, that are impacted by race, by gender, by class, all these different dimensions. When people show up differently in them, it's hard to feel validated. It can be hard to feel grounded and rooted in yourself when you're almost like creating a different way of being in the world, which is kind of what we're talking about doing here, right? When you're trying to show up in a way that your father or uncle or people in your life never showed, So how do you navigate that? When you're showing up in a sexuality you've been around, when you're showing up in your gender expression, are you showing up even in your body? I think about disabled Black men who grapple with Black using a wheelchair. Now, how do I navigate being a Black man and the way I've been taught a Black man is when I can't do specific kind of things, or even like Black men as they get older? Something I see a lot of older Black men, like maybe your mobility changes, your capacity, your strength changes. And so then you have to reinterrogate, like if you don't have support from a community to let you know that this does not define you, this does not diminish you. These dominant narratives will often push up within people and around people, and contribute to depression, to anxiety, to other kinds of distress. And so it's so important that we always realize, we have a program called Black Masculinity Reimagined. That's literally what we're saying. We have to reimagine masculinity.
That's good.
We have to be like, what can it look like when it doesn't look rigid? And I love that. Thank you, Pernell, for bringing that. Like, when it's not rigid, when it's not based on denial, when it's not based on sexism or all these other pieces, like, what does it look like? And the great thing about that is that we now have the opportunity to be limitless. We got to hold this vast opportunity. But it's also scary. It's also scary. It's like, what does that look like? Hold up. Who am I? What are we doing over here? I don't know. Like, so there's a lot of
because it's different and it's new, right? And I want to kind of bring that to the value of what it is that we're doing this week. Because if you look at our panel from Monday all the way through what we've got planned on Friday, if you look at the myriad of different flavors of Blackness that's showing up, that's streaming in from all over the country, there isn't a silver bullet, right? There isn't this one monolithic approach to who the Black man is. However, there is this common theme and this urgent desire and this urgent need for the Black man to be made well. And I think it's important for us to really kind of examine like what that looks like. Because if, in fact, we're looking at our daddy or our uncles or cousin Junebug across the street or Heathcliff Huxtable or Carl Winslow, and they are characters, they're not even real people, right? But in our in our desire to really want to go model after someone so bad, we would even subject ourselves to something that white writers have created. A fictional character, and that becomes our motto.
Steven, I see you. I feel you want to jump in. Go ahead. I felt you.
He is preaching, and I think that Yolo was using the word narrative. It's how do we get this story that we tell ourselves about us? Where does it come from? And the influences in that. And so much of kind of what you guys are talking about is, and what we like to try to ignore in the Black community, or even like as Black men, is that stuff from our past didn't bother us. It doesn't have a real impact, or you just got to tough it out. And I think, we've got to create spaces where it's safe for people to say, the way I was treated as a kid, it makes me doubt myself today, or that sometimes I don't trust myself because X happened. We don't really have the space to have those conversations, because we're putting ourselves at risk, right? What are we gambling in terms of, we talk about that rigid masculinity? What are we gambling or putting, you know, on the table if we don't fit into what people, you know, suggest or say we are to look like if we're to be a man? And I think, I'm not sure if it was it Purnell or someone was saying something about like the fact that you have to be tough with weight wise, right? And you know, about what you do and what you don't do. There's the part of where it's the physical aspect of strength, and you know, we don't other forms of strength don't get lauded over. We don't get praised for certain things. Right. You know, and I think that's a real issue, a real disservice that we do in the Black community, especially to Black men, that we aren't being praised or celebrated for doing other things that are very strong to do and you know are valued.
But because we're often pitted against each other, and pitted against each other based upon our physical strength. And I heard you that our intellectual strength, you know, because I was the bookworm and my father was the basketball player. And yes, I defied. Y'all never hear me admit this again, ever again. I'm that. Don't judge me, Purnell. I'm that Black man who cannot play basketball, but you'll never hear me say that ever again. So now I can run some track. That's a whole different story. Oh, I was a hurdler, baby. You know, but that wasn't recognized because that wasn't still a masculine enough event until every 4 years when the Olympics came around. With that regard, so the value that I was intellectually bright was not valued in the community. With that, so I totally understand and hear what you're saying. With that, we have to redefine. I love that what masculinity is. Reimagine. Right? Thank you, as Yolo says.
Purnell, you look like you're ready to jump in here, bro.
No, I'll just reiterate, like I said, we just got to reimagine it. So, you know, when it comes to masculinity, man, oftentimes I talk to my clients about the 3 fragile P's. And I say the 3 fragile P's, a lot of times where we are as men, we've been taught a man is someone that's provide, protect, and procreate. So I'm like, if one of those P's are off, then you don't look like a man, right? So I like we say, let's reimagine. Reimagine masculinity, reimagine manhood. Right. Oftentimes I play Madden with my clients. On paper, right? So I don't know if you guys ever played Madden before and created a player. And you get you know, scale what you want to be from between 0 and 99 of the player that you're creating. So oftentimes I have my clients work on a piece of paper. We actually going to draw out who we are and in the different definition of how we want to be a man, the different areas, values, traits, characteristics, and have them engaged on those different things, right? And we talk that through. Like, why do you have to be 99 with physical strength? But 25 with intellect? Let's talk that through. Why can't we try to, like say, reimagine it and have play things in other places that can be as valuable as well? You know, so I love it. I was just saying I love it.
Yeah, that's so good.
Go ahead.
I just love what you just said. It brought in with the 3 P's is so powerful. And you know, I thought about something earlier. I think Marty, maybe you said and talked about changing narratives, particularly around this idea of Black men not being fathers. I think it's a really important piece. I'm being deadbeat fathers. I want to connect it to something that Purnell said that's so important. Because a lot of times when I hear that narrative, I'm always like, I'm not feeling that narrative, that concept or way it's framed. Because what I'm seeing and what I'm witnessing and what I have witnessed is so many Black men who are emotionally and psychologically in so much shame and devastation about their inability to provide and that shame, that internalized depression. Like, it's almost like I would rather leave than face that by looking at my family every day, because I've been taught those are the only ways I can be a man. And the systems have not created the avenue for me to have
that was set up to fail.
The systems have harmed me and prevented me from getting access. And so the shame and sadness is so hard for me to hold, and then if I have this rigid masculinity concept, I can't process it, right? So what do? I disappear. I don't come around because it's hurt so much to be even in the presence. So we need to even reframe that whole narrative when it does happen. We just recognize that it's not as prevalent as the white folks like us believe. That when it does happen, it is about trauma, it is about depression and rigid masculinity. It is about hurt. And that we need to think about how do we support the folks who are navigating that, to know that their value and their presence, Your presence, just your like you ain't got to. You might not be able to have all the money, but your presence to your children, to your family, to your communities is still valuable. It's still needed and still.
Yolo, let me say something. Can we have a healing moment real quick?
Yes,
and hopefully
please,
this can set a lot of brothers free, because I'll share my own story. Is my parents divorced when I was 3 years old, and so my dad wasn't in the picture. My dad came in the picture the last 6 months of his life, and for 42 years I was upset with him for not being there and wanting him to be there and to be at every debate, to be at every game, to be there when I graduated from college, to be there when my children were born, to be there when I got married, with all of these successes. And I was angry with him for so long until I reached that point, Yolo, tied to what it is that you just said, is that maybe daddy just didn't know. And so it almost is if we carry so much rage and frustration and hurt. And that is often the motivation for us. We've all said it. I ain't going to be like my daddy. Right. And so that is the motivator for us to do right. And I challenge if that's an effective motivator. Right. But if we can get to the point of understanding, then we can get to the point of forgiveness. And what Yolo just said really kind of frames this, where maybe daddy didn't know. Maybe daddy was ashamed. Maybe daddy was hurt himself. And so that was something that I realized on my daddy's deathbed. And that allowed me to really go on this journey of forgiveness. And I wish I would have done that while he was still alive.
Because what happens is too many of us carry that. Although we might look good on the outside, it is eating and killing us on the inside, so that we cannot realize our full potential within ourselves. And maybe looking at, I had to realize, because I grew up in a domestic that's for tomorrow night. Grew up in a domestic violent household, and so I that very thing is I didn't want to be like my daddy, and in my efforts of not trying to be like him, I became him in so many ways. But I had to learn, as my grandmother said, chew the meat and spit out the bones. As an adult, in my 50s, I realized I get to choose the good habits that I want from my father. And I got to also choose to starve and kill those bad habits in him, because there were so many. I know that I would not even begin to have what I have today, because he was a brilliant entrepreneur, just didn't know how to manage his money, but brilliant entrepreneur. So I get my entrepreneurship after him.
Yeah, that's so good. I want to go to James.
Yes.
James, man, you do work and you talk with a lot of folks, and I'm interested to hear your take on just this last piece of the conversation. And it just I got a lot to say, but I'm not. Let's go, James.
Why you jumping there, man? Tonight, man,
because you was eating them animals in the pre-show.
But it was good. It was good.
Look, it was good. But what I want to say is that it just goes to the nature of the resilient individuals African Americans are. Since we got on this rock, we've been through trials, we've been through challenges, we've been through tests. And the fact that we are in this space today, having this conversation, with less than 1% of the mental health field,
that's right,
and impacting it as we are. We're educated in cognitive behavioral therapy. We're educated in eye movement desensitization, reprocessing. Those things helping us get and gain the insight that we're able to, so that we can have empathy for our oppressor, for our father, for our mother, who may have misused us, may have abused us, may have done some things they didn't know they were doing. I think that's the true blessing in and of itself. Why? Because it sets the standard for us to go even further as we progress in our society. It sets the standard for us to be able to have the conversations that we need to with those cultures who don't even look like us, or those subcultures who don't practice the same belief systems and primitives as we do. And so now we are in this space. Now the fact is that we're having the conversation. Maybe 30 years ago we weren't. Maybe 50 years ago we weren't. But now the tides is changing to where we can actually do something about it. And again, like I said, it is the fact that we are here, we have arrived, and that we aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. my brother Danny Ross, shout out to Danny Ross on there. He has this amazing book that's written for Black men, talking about the messages we carry. And too many of us are carrying still in our backpack. I always say like this, I got lots of backpacks. Too many are carrying too much in our backpack that was never designed for a backpack to carry. And we wonder why we are losing everything we have, because we're putting the wrong stuff in it. And we have not learned the gift of goodbye to the trauma. And that's what I feel the key to forgiveness is, giving them the gift of goodbye. I release you from all the pain that was caused from me. I give you the gift of goodbye because I don't want to deal with that anymore. I forgive you. I now get to redefine the relationship, even if I want to even have a relationship. That choice is up to me. That's dealing with now self-care. In that regard. Can I pivot just a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Because we've seen this rise, and I want to kind of correlate some of this self-care in here as well. Due to lack of self-care, due to lack of vulnerability, due to lack of understanding our value and purpose in there, that we're seeing this rise of suicide in black men. While the national average is going down, we see the average for Black men in these past pandemic years has increased. It feels like I was just this week have been on 2 suicide attempt calls with Black men, and what used to be an exception, I don't know about you, but it feels like it's becoming the norm. So how do we deal with that, and how do we really realize this whole thing of mental health and self-care for the Black man, so that we can, I'm going to say here, eliminate suicide in our community? I'm going to start with Stevon, if you could jump in there and talk to us about that too, and what you're even seeing in your practice.
So the thing that stood out for me, or like the word that kind of came to my mind as you were speaking, was the idea of vulnerability. I think that we've touched on or talked about it, and where's the safe space for Black folk, Black men, to be able to talk about or discuss openly their pain? If we can't go ask for help because that makes us weak, we can't show anything else besides anger because those aren't acceptable emotions. At what point do I get to kind of take the mask off and talk about what's going on with me in a way that it'll be supported, nurtured, and attended to? And I don't know that we have enough of those spaces that exist where we can be safe and not feel like we're going to be judged negatively as a result of not being, perfect or on top of it, or as strong as someone would suggest you're supposed to be. I mean, if I think about myself, I'm, 6'2", 6'2.5", about 240, where can I cry? I have spaces, obviously, but do I feel comfortable doing that in front of everyone? Do I feel comfortable doing that around all Black men that look like me? Right. I don't know that I do. I have to have these sorts of relationships or, with folks or with people or spaces to be able to kind of discuss that. And it becomes even more difficult if you're, what we call now that term, the strong friend or the strong one. How do you say, well, I don't have it together too, if I'm supposed to kind of be and hold and shoulder everyone else's kind of pain? Who helps me with mine?
That's so good. That's so good.
It is,
because it becomes overwhelming, right?
Yes.
I think we all have tendencies that if we're not careful to really kind of adopt this Messiah complex. And so the problem with that is that we are saving everyone, right? I've got to go run in and I've got to make everyone else safe and everyone else okay and well. But what about me? And I think that's a question that many Black men probably kind of play over and over in their head, because and to be honest, it may feel selfish sometimes saying that, right? In a culture that pushes us to be selfless, to come and say, well, what about me? That's hard sometimes.
But even the notion of self-care, people say, well, that's so selfish. It's not. It's healing. It's healing. I'm going to go to Pernell for the same question. We're talking about this whole perception with Black men committing suicide as it pertains to self-care as well.
And, when it comes to that, I really truly believe that we have to go back to the basics. A lot of times for us as men, we haven't been taught how to identify our true emotions, right? If you don't understand the feelings and emotions that you actually are going through, you're starting to think something is wrong with you. So, a lot of us are only okay with showing that we're happy or mad. those are the two emotions that we think exist. So I have a program here that we call Flow Detox, where we utilize the art of hip hop and poetry to help young men open up and start to really identify different emotions. So like this past week, I utilized the songs by Kodak Black, Super Gremlin, and then by Lil Wayne, I Miss My Dog. And we read those, we listened to those songs with the youth and had them read the verses word for word as the songs. And we wanted them to identify what was actually being felt in those songs the artists were trying to portray. At first, when everybody listened to Kodak Black, they're like, "Cuz he angry, he upset with his homeboy. His homeboy ran off with the M's." But when they heard it again and they read the lyrics, like, "No, man, he actually hurt." So they looking at the lyrics, like, "Man, actually, man, I'm hearing pain and hurt from him. Man, I'm hearing that he's disappointed." Right. So now they getting to see the different emotion that we got to start talking about. When was the time you felt like that? And they like, all those young men had times where they actually was like, "Man, it was a time I felt like that when, such and such did something to me, man." And I thought, "Oh, man," but when I think about it, I was actually hurt.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to really go back to the basic and utilize the our culture. Like a lot of things that was created in this mental health world wasn't created for us. So I tell people, you really can't tell me what when they work with young Black men, because I got to do what's going to be awesome for them. So we have to go back to the basics.
So good. Come on. Come on.
YOLO, I see you with your amen corner over there. Talk to me, YOLO.
I mean, everybody's just bringing so much wisdom, so much brilliance, so much insight. I'm just really super grateful for y'all and just grateful for that you exist in the work that you're doing in the world, that we're all doing in the world. I'm always going to bring it back to naming, in addition to the things that people have listed, we have to talk about systems. When we talk about suicide, completed suicides, when we talk about increase of ideations in Black men or Black folks, we have to talk about what's happening with the prison industrial complex, the ways in which increasingly, Black men for so long have been disenfranchised from economic opportunities. We talk about the conditions, whether it's healthcare access, whether it is the raising cost of living and rent and all those different dimensions, which we know exacerbate mental health conditions, right? Like if I'm
correct.
With anxiety, depression, and a variety of different conditions, and I also can't pay my rent and get a job, guess what? That's going to contribute to a variety of different symptoms. If I can't eat well, that's going to contribute to a variety of symptoms. So I think that we have to look at systems, and systems change has to happen for our overall mental health wellness of Black people, right? Period. We have to really transform, like Pernell was saying, the mental health industrial complex was designed with white men in mind. The DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, was the first edition was written by 5 white men. No Black people there. With no women there.
Right.
We have to take these models and strategies and be like, okay, some of this is good. Some of this is about y'all. Like, you know what I mean? This ain't all about us. Even some of these diagnoses, the ways in which they can be used sometimes by white clinicians can be harmful. Right, the way that Black folks are often overdiagnosed with schizophrenia and underdiagnosed with mood disorders. Right? There's a lot there, right?
And over-medicated.
It's really important too. To support our community at this time with ideations, with folks who are struggling with thinking of hurting themselves, we have to build up our capacity to know how to support them in those moments. So often someone comes to, particularly Black men, and when we're talking about Black men, right, come and say that I'm thinking about hurting myself. And sometimes because it awakens feelings within us that make us uncomfortable. It awakens feelings within us that makes us want to deflect and deny and minimize. We might start preaching at them, or we might dismiss it, or we might some people even just shut down, right? So what has to happen is our communities, we need to build up more of our folks, because it's not just the therapists who need to do it, because most people who are coming, the first lines are coming to the coaches, to the teachers, they're coming to the parents, to your cousins, they're coming to those folks. Need to be able to know, okay, you share this with me. How do I listen? We call the lap model. How do I listen? How do I listen to understand, not listen to dominate? How do I affirm what your feelings are? Affirm the feeling, which is different from the narrative, right? So I don't have to affirm the narrative. The narrative is I am worthless. The feeling is I feel sad or I feel depressed, right? Those are the feelings, right? And then how do I partner with you to figure out what in consent are you willing to do to help navigate this, right? So thinking about that piece, we need more people in our communities who are build up the skills to just have basic peer counseling skills to be able to show up and be able to also say, guess what? I'm gonna call this hotline with you. I'm gonna go to therapy
with you.
I'm gonna go to the doctor with you. I'm not gonna just leave you. I'm not gonna just give you a number and then leave you to figure it out. No, we're gonna call them together. Like I'm on my way over. I'm gonna see, like, we got to build communities and villages that are interconnected, interdependent, that see that understand this is an issue for all of us to navigate.
100%. You know, and I think it's important. And I actually want to throw this to Stefan. Also, when you look at, if you look at the clientele that you have, because I think it's very important for us to understand that ideation isn't associated just with socioeconomic status. Right. Because I see a lot of very, very successful Black men. We've seen just most recently some public suicides that were very successful.
And can we even go here?
Unfortunately, tragic. And they weren't lacking for money or anything like that, you know?
And John, we have to realize in the United States for like forever, the highest number of completed suicides has been white privileged men, right? It's been white men. We thought have inherited the country. And it's been white men the highest numbers. So we know that like ideations can be very complicated. It's not just about like income and conditions which can contribute. It can be about a variety of other conditions in your life. And some of them also not just about external conditions. Also, we're talking about other like brain, like health, other pieces, right? So there's a lot in there.
Man. We won't even talk about the Black pastors that have committed suicide here, and that's a whole other dynamic level. So go.
Like, it's just really this piece of being able to understand that, because sometimes what we can do, if we go in and we measure success by a false measurement, we would assume that they got money, they got the nice family, they got the house, they got the career, they got all the things that will probably eliminate many of the known, known stressors that contribute to suicide ideation. But it's serious out there.
It's serious. It's like the old Biggie song, more money, more problems, right? That some of those things can be mitigated by finances, but also with finances come, a whole host of other set of issues that maybe they weren't prepared for. When you start to think about, if I came from a family that didn't have a lot of money and now I do have it, what's the pressure on me to be that guy, right? Or to make sure that I'm, giving enough, but also not stupid with my money to where I lose it all. There's a ton of pressures that come, with that sort of territory. And I think that's when you start to say, well, this person looked like they had everything. It looked like they had it all together. That's the life we wanted to live. Also, we don't look at the other piece of it. I'm really big on analogies in my work. And so I talk about it in a way of thinking about a Ferrari, right? We look at a Ferrari and we say, oh man, that's a fabulous car. It's, fast. It's, costs a lot. It's expensive. It has all the, newest features. It's everybody wants to look at it. I'm seeing when I'm in it. The other side of that too is that the maintenance is high. Gas mileage is trash. Right. Like, we aren't talking about those things, what it takes to keep that stuff up. And so that's some of the pressures that go undiscussed or don't go talked about or spoken about by individuals who have achieved a lot, is what is the pressures to kind of maintain and keep that stuff going. And if I don't feel like I know how to do that, or I'm not doing a good job, or I feel like I'm barely skating by, or I don't have enough energy, I don't really feel confident that it'd be easier, or I would see how it's for somebody. It might feel like I just need an escape. I need a way out. Right. And I think when we talked about, again, that safety piece to be able to talk about that stuff, oftentimes we're carrying around this thing that I hear often is the idea of being a burden. I don't want to burden others. So if I know that other people are struggling as well, then I can't go and talk about my problems because they having a tough time.
James Bush, talk to us, because you work with those young people, and we know that is really in that group as well, that some of the highest ones is in that 14 to about 24 years old, in that transitional age group. Talk to us, James Bush.
Well, I think one of the things that we have to remember is that we have to begin to beat down that notion in the African American community that we just keep all our business in house. We don't talk to nobody about it. We don't have these type of conversations. And when you go under that premise, when you operate under that premise, you will hold that baggage. You will take on more than you can possibly ever imagine. Also, too, we're talking about suicides. We're talking about completed suicides, especially by lethal means. But also, too, let's talk about the other forms of suicide on installment.
Talk to us.
Yourself to death.
Talk to us.
Smoking yourself to death.
Opioids.
Bars. The list goes on and on. And so these things are done. Why? To help us cope with life as life presents itself to us. And unfortunately, as in our society, we haven't been taught how to do that.
how to cope.
We've been taught how to herald those things to kind of escape and to have our moments of respite or so, but also to the balance that comes along with that. We haven't been given that leeway or that latitude. And I think right now we're in a space where we have to do a better job of saying, okay, look, I understand you had a rough work week. I understand the things didn't go your way. Let's have the conversation.
Yeah, man.
It starts with our community somewhat being in a place where we can be honest with one another.
Come on.
We don't have to put on any airs. That's from clinician,
we have to
the
be
pastor, to the leader, to whoever. We don't have to front
Right.
for anybody. It's like with the MC, ain't no future in your front, because it really isn't. and that's what has happened with a lot of us.
Right.
One of the things that I love working with the population that I do is that, look, we are able to talk straight about what it is and what it's not. And then we can come to some type of conclusion. We can agree to disagree, but you know what? There's respect in the end.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times that our culture believes that we won't be respected. We will be judged. We will be demonized, ostracized because of the weight that we are carrying. And so we carry it continuously to our own demise.
That's strong, brother.
That's good, James. That's good.
Real quick, man. I got to follow up on James Bush, man. Hey, listen. By the smoking and the bars and Xanax, utilized. I call that, when I talk about it, suicide by society. Like, that's something that we've been doing as Black men in the Black community for a long time. We're doing direct means that we understand it's going to contribute to us to either a potential demise or a slow demise. And we start asking ourselves, why are we participating in these type behaviors? Right. So as James stated, get to that place where we can be honest with ourselves, so we can be honest with those around us about what we're going through, so we don't contribute to our own suicide, right? Whether it's or something that you are doing intentionally that could lead to your physical demise.
Yeah, that's so good, man. That's safe space. Jerron had a comment up there. It goes right back to this common theme that we've been talking about literally all week, this safe space and vulnerability. Marty, I want to actually go in and talk about a conversation that we had.
Right.
We were getting in probably about a month ago, and we were getting ready to do a business call.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And you pushed pause and you asked me how I was doing. You said you didn't look yourself.
Right.
And then tell the people what happened. It's all right.
We didn't have a call.
We didn't have a call.
We stopped business. I care and love this brother too much to push forward with my own agenda. And his mental health and his emotional health means everything. And so that time I said, you know what? Ain't nothing. Close the shop for business. Let's just have a heart-to-heart and talk. And we just got through and just got to really talk about because we're brothers. And so I can't just because we're in the same company or he's my business coach or what have you, that we push forward with daily life as normal, but pushing pause to say, nope. I said, no, we have to take more account for people's counters when we know something is off. We as therapists, we're trained to observe behaviors. And I looked at this man and said, you're not good. And we just had a heart-to-heart with that. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, man, because you're about to make me cry. But it was, it's fascinating. The reason why I bring that up, because it's so important that some folks ain't going to a therapist, And if we boys and if we brothers, or if we get to this point, and I'm pretty emotionally able to articulate how I'm feeling. But many people in that state probably would have just pressed all the way through and just suppressed that feeling over and over and probably turned to some of these, what you call suicide by society, these coping mechanisms instead of pushing pause to say, hey, man, I ain't good.
Right.
And I probably go from this global executive who's been hired to coach and to take the business to the next level. But in that moment, man, I just wept and I just cried and I snotted and I sneezed, and it didn't change any of my credentials
by no
at
means.
all, And so it's really being able to, one, have the courage, but the courage would not have been on display if the safety wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so that's where I really kind of want to go to, as we got about 10 minutes left on the broadcast, man, but just to kind of hear from our panel and just talking to those viewers that are watching now and then those that'll watch again, like what do we do to create that safe space to let our brothers know that if nobody sees you, I see you, and I see you beyond your credentials. I see you beyond the alphabets behind your name. I see you beyond all of the things that you know, that the world labels as success. But I see you, how do we do that?
Yeah. Yolo, talk to us. Go ahead, Stephen.
No, I just wanted to say, and I don't want to kind of dominate. I wanted to ask the question because I think there's something important or really, valuable in you guys' experience that you're talking about. Is that part of what happened was that Marty reached out. He saw something and he said something, right? He asked about, he said, my brother's not presenting in a way that I'm used to. I wonder what's going on. That's half of it, right? So we always want people to kind of check in. The other piece I'm really interested in is, what about that, or what about Marty made you feel comfortable enough, John, to not say, hey, I'm fine, it's all good?
Yeah, I think I was at rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was at rock bottom. I was in the point where I was just imploding internally, and I was just tired of going. And like, I take care of everybody. And one of the things that I was saying is, like, I was just frustrated. Like, man, in my role as a coach, in my work, I'm a dad, I got a wife, I'm a husband, I'm all these things. And in that moment, I'm a pastor. I'm like, man, who got me? And in that moment, he was there. And I'm very grateful, because if it weren't you, it could have been somebody else. And we won't even talk about predatory behavior, catching Black men in vulnerability and taking advantage of them.
Right. Go ahead, Stephen. You were going to say. Stephen,
oh no, that was it. I wanted to know, because I know that part of, like, what you're talking about in trying to show up and be a support is how do we get, how do you get to a place of where, and this is what I thought was important, of where you feel comfortable enough or trust the person enough to be able to share that information. The therapy environment provides that because of confidentiality. Everybody's not making it to therapy. So then how do I say that with my uncle? How do I say that with my bro? How do I say that with my friend? How do I say that with my partner? That becomes a thing. And it's, how do we let the other person that we're in relationship with, or people that we're in relationship with, say, hey, these are the things about you that make me feel safe enough to be myself or to be seen in that moment.
Yeah, and that's the question to the panel.
Let's talk through that. Yolo, talk to us. Listen, Yolo shaking his head because I feel him. Yes, go ahead, Yolo.
I'm just moved by everything you shared. I mean, and I just want to also just appreciate, Marty and John, you both modeling for us, sharing with us that example of how vulnerability and connection and community can happen and safety can happen. Like, that example gives us other possibilities for how we can create that more in all of our lives,
Wow, yes.
I just want to name that and just say thank you for sharing that example. That's important, right? The creating collective safety, which is what we're talking about, right? Creating safety with each other is a delicate, intricate process, right? That we all have to navigate in various different ways with different folks, right? Finding the people who we know we can share those parts of us and who know how to hold those parts with us with tenderness, respect, and with dignity. And it's a journey to figure out who those people are. We have to learn how to discern, practice discernment, and try and fail. And sometimes we get somewhere and the relationships change. All that will happen. But a big part of it also is making sure that we're a safe space for us.
Yes,
so as we learn to become a safe space for our feelings, for our emotions, for our things, then we learn how to be able to recognize and hold that often for other folks.
Yes.
Right. But if I'm a denier, not always, but sometimes if I'm a denier, minimizer, but pretending, it may be very difficult for me to sit with your truth. Because my coping strategy historically has been to dismiss the truth or dismiss what I'm perceiving, right? So I think that's a big part of it is, really beginning to do that internal work of what is my relationship to my emotions, to my feelings? Am I a denier? Am I a minimizer? Do I dismiss? How am I coping? What does that look like? And really doing that examination and building a practice. When I say a practice with other folks, practice can be a lot of things. I'm from the South. Practice can be sitting on the porch with your homie and be like, so how you feel about this? Like, what I mean? That's a practice.
Right.
tea on the porch in the South is a practice. I don't care what nobody say. That's a healing practice, right? Like when you sit and being present.
That's real practice.
Yeah.
Under the tree, man.
Go ahead, Pernell. Go ahead. Talk to me. Go ahead,
Pernell.
I'm disagreeing with you. That's a real practice. But, one thing that I go out and teach on is the intersectionalities of healing. Now, I'm utilizing intersectionality in the non-traditional way. But when I say intersectionalities of healing, I want us to look at ourselves as a whole person, So I see myself, I'm Pernell Bush, but I'm a Black man. I'm a United States Marine. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm a community leader. I'm a father. I'm from the hood. Each part of those needs something different to heal. So once we understand what parts of us needs to be healed, we understand what practice we need to be put into place. So for me, the country boy, I might need to go just sit up under the tree with my kinfolks and relax and sit there and go ride some horses. Or the United States Marine to me, I might need to go to the gun range and just fire some things off. The hood me, I might want to go to a Plies concert and be off in the VIP with my bottles of Hennessy. So each part needs something different. So once we start to understand what parts of us are is yelling out to us,
right?
Truly go through and heal that piece of us.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
To put into practice what we need for that piece. Because oftentimes we do the same thing. You're like, why is this not working? Because maybe you're not listening to the part of you that's actually calling out for healing.
Yes. I want to add a piece of what Pernell, because I think this is important to bring up here too. We as Black folks, as descendant of African folks in this country, have always had practices to heal, right? And when you name that piece about the sit under the tree, when we talk about the porch, when we talk about the root workers, when we talk about the pastors, when we talk about the midwives, Black folks have always had histories of healing. We would not be alive if that was not the thing.
Exactly.
Whether it was the consoling and the support that we had to learn how to give each other when we first got on this land, and we were what was happening, to the ongoing support, whether it was the kitchen tables, the beauty salons, the barbershops, or the church, we've always had a history of healing. Even the tarot lady, we've always had some kinds of healing strategy.
Right.
So I think it's so important to honor that lineage and to honor that our practices might look different. Right, our practices might not be quote unquote what they call evidence-based practice. I might be practice-based evidence. Right, it's like it might be a lot of different pieces, but I want to honor that lineage and that what we're doing now is growing it, but it's always been there. I believe that our folks have always had healers, always had that. We're just growing the conversation to a different level, and I think that's really important to lift up. With those examples that Pernell named about practices and healing. So this
right. James Bush, come on and talk to us.
I'll take this a page out of what Cuz was talking about earlier when he was talking about lifting weights. And I'm thinking about, man, I'm a very visual person. So I look at the person as bench pressing. And so when that person, sometimes they're going to want to go to that next level to have a spotter. And so sometimes we have to be a spotter to one another. But the fact is that we still have to do the work individually.
Yes.
You still have to use that technique. You still have to use that form. You have to, man, plant them feet. And, man, basically, man, you got to thrust as much as possible. You got your brother cheering you on, and he's there with you while you're going through the process of trying to hit, man, maybe them one or two reps. But at the same point in time, you have to do the work. I see so many times when our brothers, they come to therapy sessions, they come to other different functions or so like that, and they leave full, but they don't execute after the fact.
There you go.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. Because what we need is, man, people to not just, man, talkers. We need doers, executors.
That's right.
And in that moment, we all can be better. Because guess what? When I see that you are working and that you are healed,
come on, man,
I want some of that too. That's just like the opioid and the fentanyl epidemic. It's that these folks is out here that's just strung out. They don't want none of that, man, garbage. They want some of that hard,
right?
Because that hard is going to get them over. Hey, I see you, Stefan. I see you laughing, bro. But man, that's the fact. They want some of that hard. So again, if I'm healed, if I'm happy, if I'm not bitter at my baby mama, if I'm not bitter at society, if I'm not bitter because of my job, if I'm at peace or so like that, I want that.
Yes.
Because that's more fulfilling. That's plentiful. That's nourishing. That's something, man, that I don't have to take to bed with me every night or so like that.
Thanks.
And in those moments, we can affect generations. Because why? That's the model. Being broke, being busted and disgusted, having all these different intrusive thoughts, racing thoughts, over medicating ourselves based on a faulty diagnosis. that was men not culturally competent. We'll not say nothing more about that.
See, that's a whole nother discussion. That's a whole nother. We got to have this one again. Yeah, definitely. This has been so powerful tonight. Y'all taking us to another. Since we talk about self-care, 30 seconds. I'm gonna give you 45 seconds. Give us how we can contact you, and your go-to self-care that you always go to help you out. James Bush, since you ended, let's go back. Start back with you, James Bush. How do we get a hold of you and your go-to to self-care?
My name is James Bush. I run the Mind of a Man podcast. You can find it on all digital platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Deezer, as well as YouTube. Mind of a Man podcast, James Bush. You can find me at bushcounselingservices.com or so like that. And my go-to self-care motive would be spending quality time with loved ones, aka sometimes the gun range. Pop them rockets.
I can't with you. That's Nashville talking. That's Nashville. Let's go to the cousin in the South. Come on, talk to me, Pernell Bush. Man, how do we find you and your go-to self-care?
Well, first and foremost, you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as Pernell Bush. But on IG, you can find me as the Juggernaut_therapist. Ultimately, man, I tell you, my go-to self-care, it depends on the day. But lately I just wanted some time alone. I've been reading. That's been my go-to self-care. But it depends on, once again, what side of me needs to be refilled.
Love that. Hey, thank you again. Okay, thank you. We're gonna go to the therapist to the celebrities. None other than Stevan Lewis. Tell us how we get a hold of you, follow you, and your go-to for your self-care, man.
For sure. I use my government name for everything. So Stevan Lewis, if you Google that, that's the easiest way. I'm the most active on Instagram. I'm at Stevan Lewis MFT. The letter is Mary Frances Thomas. That's where you find me kind of snatching edges and doing my thing. My go-to self-care, I'll kind of give a turn really quick, is that even though I look like a football player, I like to get out on this bike. And so I'll use those things right there and cycle up some hills for about 2, 3, 4 hours.
He said 2 or 3, 4 hours.
Yeah, no,
I'd be good for I'd be good for about 20 minutes and be like, all right. I got a bike that's been in my garage. I still ain't put together for 2 years now. But that's a whole nother story. Don't y'all? No judgment. This is
no judgment, sir. No, we're gonna get that put together this year.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, and I'm gonna bring it out. We're gonna go cycling. That's what we're gonna do.
I'm with that.
Definitely. YOLO. How do we follow your amazing organization and your go-to for self-care?
Yeah, so you can visit our website at www.beam.community. It is not a .com, it's a .community, and that is a reason for that. You can also follow us on Instagram at @_beam.org. My go-to wellness practices change, depending on what I need. Lately, it's been really consistent yoga, meditation, and therapy. It's been really helpful. And also sometimes just sitting and reading, and sometimes just sitting out in nature at the park, on the porch. Those have been really healing for me.
Love it.
Nice.
Love it.
Let's go to you, Marty. How about you? What's your go-to self-care, sir?
My go-to self-care right now has been Burke Williams and getting a good massage and then just kind of chilling in that steam room and that sauna so I can just kind of let all that out. And as I'm sweating away all the toxicity out of my mind and my body.
Nice.
Yes. John Henry, I know yours, but talk to us, John Henry.
You know mine? What is it?
Yours, that whole nature hiking.
There you go.
In flip-flops.
Yeah, man, you put me in the mountains and just let me just walk through the mountains. I'm good to go. It's probably a hybrid between the mountains and my Peloton.
And your Peloton.
I've been spending a lot of time on my Peloton, so hiking in my Peloton.
Yes. Listen, John Henry, hasn't this panel been absolutely incredible, amazing, and incredible tonight? Listen, I can't thank you guys enough for adding to. We're going to plan something that we got to come back because we've only scratched the surface of what we're doing, and with that, again, I cannot thank you all enough for adding to this amazing dialogue that we've had tonight. And again,
Wanda, that is not true. I do not wear flip-flops. He can get back. I just let him have it. That is not true.
Definitely. And definitely. And Wanda's the one we're doing the equine therapy with the horses and all wonderful. That. Yes. So we're so glad about that. We're really, especially in this day and age, our desire is to do something other avenues of a holistic approach to mental wellness for the Black man made well, because we're so diverse, and there's lots of ways that we can heal, and that's what we're so much about with that. So guys, thank you so much. We much love. Listen, y'all, show some love to this amazing panel. Listen, y'all got a bunch of free therapy tonight on here online. This is about at least a $5,000. Oh, we're going conference fee. This is a $10,000 session y'all got for free. Definitely, because we got to up our when we do conferences.
So the least you can do is like, comment, subscribe, share.
And share. That's right. That's the least.
I learned that from my baby boy.
Yes. Boy. So again, y'all, thank you for joining us for this Wednesday night edition of the Black Man Made Well. And you gotta come back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for what are we doing tomorrow night, John Henry?
We're talking about fatherhood, and we're celebrating fatherhood with all Black fathers. It's going to be incredible. Very jazzed about that.
Yes, same here. But again, as I always say each week, listen, we don't want you, especially as Black men, the Black man made well, we don't want you to continue to secretly suffer in silence in the shadow of shame, but we want you to speak up,
speak out,
and live. Definitely. We'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. God bless and be safe. Get the self-care in.